Welcome to the Ocean Community 50 Under 50 series, presented by the Ocean Community Chamber of Commerce. The road to success starts at Valenti family of auto dealerships, and visibility along the journey increases greatly with the help of 321 Media. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 50 Under 50 series. I am up in the weird corner there. Here we go. Now I'm where I should be. Oh my God, a crazy morning this morning, and I am very excited to be joined for this 50 Under 50 with our honoree, Ryan Saunders, the executive director of the Chorus of Westerly, and one of my favorite people to talk to in the whole world. So Ryan, congratulations, welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for whoever nominated me into the chamber for the honor. Appreciate it.
So this is going to be the awkward part where I read your bio to you.
Okay, let's see if I'll tell you if you pass or not.
Okay, perfect. So Ryan Saunders has served as the executive director of the Chorus of Westerly since May 2009, guiding the organization through remarkable growth and success. Over his 16-year tenure, Ryan has helped the chorus expand from a single flagship ensemble of 190 singers to a dynamic multiple ensemble organization with over 400 singers participating weekly. He has played a critical role in securing millions of dollars in funding, ensuring the chorus's future, and enabling the continuation of high-level programs. A seasoned leader and advocate for the arts, Ryan has produced more than 300 chorus events and led 3 major international tours over the past decade, including trips to the Czech Republic, Austria, Hungary, Germany, France, and England. His commitment to representing Westerly's vibrant arts scene spans local, state, and federal levels, consistently championing the region's cultural growth. Ryan's dedication to arts administration extends beyond his work with the Chorus of Westerly. He is also an adjunct professor at Wheaton College, where he teaches arts administration. Previously, he served as manager of events and public relations for Tufts University's Department of Music, where he was recognized with the Tufts Change Agent Award. A key figure in advancing Rhode Island's cultural initiatives, Ryan was instrumental in the passage of the $35 million Cultural Facilities Bond and played a foundational role in the Westerly Regional Arts Partnership. Ryan is a proud father, husband, and advocate for the arts with degrees from Boston University and Wheaton College. Ryan.
That's me. Sounds about right.
And Ryan, there's no mention in there about being a baseball coach.
No, which is my later obligations today too. That's my baseball, sort of my other happy place, but with my kids. But yeah, that sounds about right. Thanks for that nice overview.
Well, do you ever like read all of that and go, maybe I do too much?
I think my wife probably feels that way a little bit. No, I feel like I do what I'm supposed to do. When you say it like that, I mean, there's been a lot of wonderful things over, a decade and a half, and a lot of stressful days, but more glorious days than not. So there's times I think about how I did some of the stuff when I was younger, and particularly when my kids were little. But no, I mean, I think it's when you believe in what you do, it's just what you do.
Yes, absolutely. You and I have known each other for quite a long time. Yep. Probably the entire time you've been at the chorus, or at least close to it. I have interviewed you on multiple continents, that
is true.
Which is nice.
Like a rare distinction, right?
Oh, it is a rare. I think
at random hours of the day.
I've interviewed other people on other continents, but never also in my office.
Okay, fair, yes. fair.
Yeah. So that's special to me. You grew up here, right?
I did.
In Westerly?
No, I grew up in Pawcatuck. I lived on William Street. And I mean, I was born at Westerly Hospital, lived here as an infant, but I grew up in Pawcatuck. I went to Stonington schools, Stonington High School. I graduated in 96. So, but I mean, Pawcatuck and Westerly is symbiotic, right? Yeah. So I went to school in Connecticut, but I did grow up on these streets right here between Christ Church and the Chorus of Westerly in particular. So I look at all of this as, and my dad was a graduate of Westerly High School. My mom was a graduate of Stonington High School. So, I'm a product of both towns, if you will.
Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
Football.
Oh, it's Stonington, 100%.
Okay,
There's no question about that.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you're wrong. Actually, no, I have to play both sides now.
Gotcha. I understand.
I have to be both sides.
I understand.
Yeah, you mentioned it being one. Literally, you can see both Westerly and Stonington behind you.
Yeah.
Out of the window.
Yeah.
Literally, we see the river.
Yep.
So you grew up in the chorus of Westerly and Christ Church choir.
Yep.
With Mr. Kent.
Yep.
Did you ever think that you'd be coming back and running the organization?
No. In fact, when I left for college, I was pretty clear to anyone who would listen that my only trips back to town would be to visit my family. That said, when I applied to Wheaton College, the college essay at the time was you had to write a letter to yourself that was basically 10 years after you graduated. And you're writing it to a friend about like where you were and what you were doing. And the letter that I wrote for that application was that my job was that I was the manager of the Tanglewood Festival Chorus, which is the Boston Symphony Orchestra's chorus. So having a job like that was something in my brain. Interestingly, 2 years before I took the job here in Westerly, so in 2007, I was offered that job by the Boston Symphony Orchestra.
Oh my God.
I was offered my actual dream job, and I turned it down. I got all the way to the end, and it was offered, and it didn't feel right when and I just decided to stay at Tufts for a couple more years. But I remember at the time that there was somebody involved with the organization that said to me when I declined it, because this is, the Boston Symphony is they're the major leagues. Like, this is the Boston Red Sox of classical music, right? That I was shooting my career in the foot and that I would not have a successful arts career. And I remember taking that very hard when that person said it, but saying like, I've got to trust my gut because where I work has to be meaningful to me. And at that juncture in time, I was starting to think about, well, maybe someday I would come here. But honestly, I was happy at Tufts, and it was Debbie Dunham who in 2009, when there was a vacancy in the role, we were doing an overnight at Kent Hall for all the chorus kids, a campathon. And about 2:00 in the morning to about 3:30 in the morning, I was not going to apply, but she convinced me to apply. And I took the job on May 16th, 2009, sitting in the bleachers at Yankee Stadium.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
That is almost 16 years to the day of this.
And Debbie actually reminded me of that a couple days ago, because right after I accepted the job, I snapped a picture of just the bleachers from the bleachers looking out into Yankee Stadium. They're playing the Twins. A-Rod had a walk-off home run. But I realized that meant my life was going to change a lot. And when you come and you work with family and friends and in your community, it's different. It's very personal, but unlike when I had to turn down the BSO, this felt right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't think I was going to be here 16 years. I told my friends at Tufts that I'll do this for 2 to 4 years, and then I'll move on. So multiply that by a few.
What a fool.
Yeah,
multiply by 4 so far. You have been transformational to this organization. I read it in your bio, to take it from what was already a legendary community chorus, the only one of its kind in the country, and turn it into what it is now, has been so great to watch just as an observer from the community. And I get so excited every time I see something new from the chorus, and it feels like there's always something new. But sometimes when you create new things, you subtract old things.
Right.
you were, you what was it you oversaw, or you were in this position when George Kent retired?
Yep.
And were you part of the committee choosing Andrew Howell?
Yeah. So, yes, I was part of the committee. No, I didn't have a vote in the process,
Right.
but both George and I had say. So we were both a part of the process. But when it came down to select the candidate, if you will, then we were not part of that discussion. But we both got to give input. But the logistics of the search, alongside the aforementioned Deb Dunham, I orchestrated a lot of that. And helped manage that process. So I was there, it was an interesting time. I kind of knew deep down from the moment I walked in the door that transition was going to happen probably on my watch.
Yeah.
But it's still, and I knew it was going to be a hard transition, but the chorus was actually in pretty rough financial shape when I first started. I mean, just things were rough and were for a good while. So we had to, once George retired and moved along, we brought Andrew in. Andrew and I had to basically be very bold and take some very big leaps to try to move the organization to its next phase. And it was, everything we did was exciting, but it was nerve-wracking. And even to your point of sometimes making decisions that were difficult, like when we decided to put 12th Night on the shelf for a while, and we needed to just sort of see how we could stretch our legs in different ways. That wasn't popular at all. And the one great thing about this town is it loves everything. It loves itself. Like It loves its community. It loves its arts organizations. It loves its library. It loves it. And everyone, because it has such love and it gives so much, people in this community give so much to these organizations. They also have a sense of ownership in everything. And that is a blessing because we can all do these amazing things. But in some ways, that also is tough because when you do have to make a decision that is the business decision or the betterment of the organization going forward, and you can't explain the logic to everybody who lives here, sometimes you get a wave of emotion coming back that can be difficult. And both when George retired, that was a big, he still is. He was our driving, beating heart. And him going away was hard for people to understand, and putting 12th Night on there, like we've been doing this forever and ever. But change, you can't have growth without change. And that does mean that sometimes you have to disappoint people in their feelings. And when you're at the leadership of all of that, that means you have to be strong, but you have to be willing to make the tough decisions. And, I've had a great partner in Andrew with that. And we did. So, but looking back, it was as hard of probably a professional project as I'll ever have, because it's not, the chorus of Westerly is not just simply a community chorus. It is it's almost like an artistic, spiritual home for so many people. Yeah. And it's been so much to so many people. And it was, for me, ever since I've gotten the keys to my job, it's like I've been in charge of this precious baby. And, that's now not a baby anymore. It's a teenager, right? And I know Andrew and I always, we sort of live a little bit in the shadows of the greats that came before us that put the chorus on the map, the Ann Utters of the world, the Lynn Kents, the Janet and Charlie Kitchens. I mean, I could Henry Moses, Nora Spence. I could go on and on and on and on and on. And Bunky and Lynn too. So there's a lot of pressure with the job, but grown.
I remember doing an interview with you and Andrew, and we were in the offices. This was 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, 11 years ago, and you gave me a look of like, don't ask that question beforehand. About 12th Night, and then at the end of the interview, after the microphones were off, this is before we used cameras, after the microphones were off, you and Andrew were like, we haven't announced it yet, but we have to cut 12th Night. And you guys were like, and I like, who didn't grow up in Westerly, was like, oh, that makes complete sense. And Dave, who was sitting next to me, who was in 12th Night and a member of the court, was like, oh, this is going to be tough. This is going to be, he was like, I know what you guys are doing. You guys are going to get like, this is going to be, rough, but the growth that came from those hard decisions that you made has been so phenomenal. I mean, like I said, I have talked to you on different continents. Yeah. You've done 3, is it?
3
international tours
3. Yeah.
Since then.
Yep.
Those types of big leaps, all of the how many different choruses are there now? Inside of it, how many different ensembles?
I think we have 8 different ensembles right now.
You have 8 ensembles. Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah.
The going into schools, right?
Yep.
The that is like just hearing peripherally. Like I got a text that my nephew was in the choruses after school program or during school program
yep.
at West Vine, and I'm
yep.
like, what has happened? Like this is you guys are just right now. You and I just had an interview about the third collaboration between the Chorus, the United, and the Granite Theater
yep.
happening next month.
Yep.
There's an endless amount that you've done just inside the Chorus, and you and Andrew and the leadership team and the volunteers and the board have done such a great job of stewarding this organization that really is like, when you're a member of the Chorus of Westerly, it is such a family. You guys have such a family atmosphere and all of that stuff. And for you and Andrew to have been 2, at one point, children in the chorus, to then be the leaders of the chorus and have to make those tough decisions. At some points, you're like looking at people who you're like, listen, I know that you were the adult that I was looking up to. These are how we move this forward.
Yeah.
And that had to have been very difficult. But to see all of the things that have happened good because of it has to be like the most rewarding feeling in the world, right?
Yes to all of that. And yes to what you're saying there too. I going back to what I said a little while ago, was like, there is a sense of ownership in the chorus and all of our institutions here. And when you say stewarding, and I think stewarding is the right word, because we are stewarding that, this is the family, we are keeping the family going. But yeah, sometimes if you're in the family, you got to make those hard choices, and their moments are hard. But then when you do see things come together, and you almost have to play the long game, right? You have to realize, like, a seed you plant now is not going to bear fruit for a while. And you also have to sort of do your best to keep communicating to people out there, like, look, we hear you, we see you, we're listening to you, we're trying to adapt to where we are as a community and where we're going to go. And just because something is different doesn't mean it's bad. And just because we move away from something doesn't mean we're forgetting about it.
Yeah.
Even like when we brought 12th Night back for a run this January, like we always said, I don't think people believed us, but we always said, no, we're going to bring it back eventually. But we waited till the time was right and did it in a different way. And so it is fulfilling. What's fulfilling to me is when I get to see these events come together, and I get to see these people creating whatever they create. It's not, the chorus's tool is music, but our driving force is betterment of the community. Harness the power of music to transform lives and nourish the soul of the community. That's our mission. Music is our tool. And if we can use that in different ways, either different programs or different types of concerts or different collaborations, to make life better for the people around us here and the people within here, because we are not the Chorus of Westerly without, it is of Westerly too. So of Westerly, all of this, we're just not that without them. I think, to me, the actual most fulfilling moment to me every single year is Summer Pops. Even if the weather's not going the way I want it to go. Because even if the weather is bad, let's use this as an example, and we have a concert going, and maybe it's a smaller crowd because it's moved to Sunday and there's a thunderstorm about to roll in, which seems to be the last 5 years. You just look out there, but say it's even the nice big night. You look out there and you see all of these people from all different walks of life, and they're just all there, and they're all together, and they're all there together. And there's just this like joy that is connecting from blanket to blanket to blanket, from stage to here, there. And if we can create, when we create that, put that out there, to me, it's like looking around and seeing everybody. It's like, this is my Westerly, Stonington, doesn't matter, the Charahoe district, South Kingstown, Groton, whatever. These, we're all the same people on the same planet. And this is just this, I always say, it's like the sea of humanity. And that brings me joy every year. That concert is the most stressful part of my year, because it is such stakes to have that concert in there, with weather and safety and security and cost and 1,000 logistics. But when you finally realize all that stress, all that worry, all that fundraising, when you can see it all together and you can see, like, look, we can be united in a way, it's super special to me. And so when I go back to your question, you said, did you ever think about you ever having this job or coming back? The truth is, probably deep down, that's always what I wanted. I just didn't even know it until I had it.
Yeah.
So I wish I could go back to myself and say, would you just grow up, 17-year-old Ryan? Like, these are your people. Now, I don't live in town full time, because my wife teaches school in Massachusetts. So I live in Massachusetts. But there's no place in the world that I would drive 2 hours every day back and forth, and forth to be here for. It's, the greater community has been so kind to all of my family, and I'm just happy to give back to it.
Does Andrew ever get jealous that you don't have to live here? I'm kidding.
I mean, Andrew can walk to the building in about 60 seconds. So I definitely get jealous of him after concerts.
Right.
It is nice when the one thing about living a little further away is it does give me a little bit of time to
store.
That's true. No one talks to me up there. Yeah. I do know people in town through my coaching, but the drive actually lets my brain reset sometimes after big events and stuff like that. So,
that makes a lot of sense. I do have to say, talking about walking to the chorus hall in about 60 seconds, to be able, last year's Summer Pops, because I live in walking distance now to the Summer Pops, and so last year, to be able to, the guests that you get, and by the way, I literally say a prayer for you every single year about the weather, like for you, not for the chorus, not for everybody, for Ryan Saunders, because I know you have the weight of the world on your shoulder looking at the weather app and the radar every single year. And so I literally go, please protect Ryan today and his mental health. To be able to walk down in 2006, when I lived in New York and was going to college in New York City, and going to see Les Mis multiple times every month, and to see Adam Jacobs, I got his name right, to see Adam Jacobs on Broadway, get to meet him at the stage door multiple times, like, huge fan of his. And then what the chorus does to be able to bring stars of that magnitude from Broadway, from operas, from every walk of life that you guys do in music, to have that then be in walking distance from my house, to just pop down, like, see that performance of Aladdin, and then and then listen to the rest of the Pops, and just be able to walk back home, and I didn't have to worry about parking or anything like that. Like, I'm just like, man, the Pops are one of the times where it hits me how lucky we are to have you, to have you guys here. But do you think, this is a question that I don't think I've ever thought of before until you started talking about it. Do you think that you and Andrew growing up in the chorus, because I do, has given you the leeway of a little bit more trust to be able to have taken away some of the things, to build some of the things? Because I feel like if the executive director in 2009 had been a kid from Tufts, a graduate from Tufts, who was, the same way that you were walking into, you would have been walking into BSO, I feel like all 190 people in the chorus would have been like, who is this person? I don't trust them with my baby. As fully, like, you would have had. I feel like,
I do think so the answer to that question is, I think other people could have succeeded, but
yes,
I do think that having, Yes, I do think having sort of the institutional knowledge of of not just the players in the institution, but understanding a little bit how the community itself ticks, because our community ticks its own way. I think that has been helpful. Now that there is also the drawback to that, though, in that, to your point, you brought it up earlier, like all these people that we're working with now, in many ways, were like, as Andrew and I grew up, they were like our extended aunts and uncles and things like that. So, and that's hard because then, and in some ways, personally, one area where I always kind of struggle is I take things way too personally. I'm an emotional empath. Like I feel things, I feel other people, and sometimes when you're thinking that's the one case that could also get in the way because you're thinking about other, all the other circumstances of people's lives. But yes, I think that did help quite a bit. I think it also helped us because Andrew and I, when we both started singing, didn't have any immediate family singing in the organization. So we weren't like generational Christchurch choir kids. We both were in it, but we came into it.
Yeah.
So, and now of course our families are highly engaged, but that's our families, right? Not the,
right.
our now, but not then. And I think going through this whole system as kids, and Andrew started a little later on than I did. I started as a 7-year-old, almost 8. He started, I think he was 11 or 12. But I think going through it as kids, we got to understand fundamentally about what George Kent was teaching us about excellence and hard work and projects, but also got to experience what life was like as a college kid or teenager. And so when it's things like, okay, these are things we can improve or things we can change, that was helpful. But yes, I do think there was a lot of trust put on us with our own people because they had familiarity with us and they just knew who we were.
Yeah.
Andrew's not going to be music director forever, and I'm not going to be executive director forever. But I think the chorus is at a point now where you could bring in completely new people for either role, and they're certainly going to have a learning curve, but they could succeed. I feel like the organization itself, just even in terms of staffing and footprint, is we've always been well run, but we've really streamlined the organization over the last decade.
Yes, and I think that that's what it is. I think that when Mr. Kent was stepping down, to go from that change to the only thing everybody ever knew, and this is how everything is done, and this is how everything goes, for you guys to be the stewards of that and to have the institutional knowledge and have the love of it, right? Like that's, I think that's because yes, it's more pressure on you guys because everybody who is judging the decisions that you make also remembers when you were 8 years old.
Correct.
And that is like, do they still see me as an 8-year-old or do they see me as an adult who deserves to be in this position? And that you can, that's a struggle when you first start, but your intentions are not questioned. You know what I mean?
No, that's 100% true.
Your intentions are, okay, we know that these two people love this as much as everyone else does.
Yeah.
And so that is, but now that you guys have done what you've done over the last decade, and for you a decade and a half, now that you guys have done that and transformed the chorus into where it is now, and you've created new positions, it's so much bigger than it was, and it was big.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's so much bigger than it was then and now, I don't think that people fear, I don't think that people would fear that change the way that they would have 10 years ago.
I think you're spot on with that. I really do. And I think the other thing is, look, Andrew, working with Andrew has been, we have a very special partnership, and, we definitely don't always agree on things, but we always, before we're going into board meetings and things like that, we've said in another interview we did earlier, like we're in, we go in and we're ready to go. But yeah, I think when I first started, it was much harder. I was also 30 years old. I'm 46 now.
Yeah.
But I think, yes, now the organization is really, it could definitely, the thing when you have a founder step down is and usually they don't go as long as George did. That's not a knock on George. Usually they just don't.
5 decades
is a long time for anything.
Uh-huh.
But for any nonprofit, particularly arts organizations, they say you're really not, you're still basically a baby nonprofit until your founder retires. And you can see, can you function without your founder, who is your first rock star, your vision, your right. And I think, and even in my own head, there were moments where I questioned it. Like, are we going to get through this? But I think that's been proven that we can do it now. And yeah, I think a transition later on will be easier. I think one of the things too is that we've had a group of a support system in that, not just our singers, but our board,
yes,
who has been very trusting of us. And when we come up with an idea that is absolutely off the wall, and I'm not talking a collaboration, I'm talking 2013 or so, going to them and saying, the chorus needs to go. We have no money. Our bank accounts are bleeding dry, but I think the chorus should go on tour again because we need to hit a home run and get morale back up. To have board members that we've had, and we've had a lot of them since I've worked there, to trust us enough and help us find the resources to make it go, that's been huge for us too. So yeah, it's just I've been blessed to work with unbelievable staff members and the most loving and supporting board members you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys were the right people at the right time, and you have done such an amazing job of growing the organization. That first baton pass is the most challenging in an organization, especially after 50 plus years.
Yeah.
And the next ones are easier. But you guys have both been creating your own legacy for the past decade plus. So and I don't want you to leave for a very long time, so please don't. But we've already gone over 30 minutes. My question is, what do you enjoy? I know I know you love baseball.
I do.
I know you're going to go coach tonight with your kids. How important is it to have, because you're so heavily, we didn't talk about rap. We didn't talk about the Yes on 5. Okay. We didn't talk about any of that stuff. You've done so much for the arts. What does it mean to you to be able to drive that hour back home and to coach your kids playing baseball?
What does it mean to me?
Like what does it mean? Yeah, because your job, your life, every time and when you're the executive director of an organization like this, especially when you grew up in, you're living, breathing, thinking about it while you're sleeping, all of this stuff. To be able to, that's got to be a reason. That's got the drive home and that. It's the complete opposite end of the spectrum. It's literally in a different state, an hour away.
Yep.
It's got to be such a nice reset.
It is. And I think that, first of all, my kids get to sing down here now too. So I have them in their musical life, but getting a chance to coach and work with my kids in baseball, any of these kids are coach baseball, is, for me, that is my respite, even though it's its own level of stress, because once you step between those two white lines, my focus has to be on that. So for 2 or 3 hours, a couple evenings a week, I'm not actually thinking about work. And baseball is, the randomness of baseball is both wicked and amazing. And that's why I love it so much, which is it is a game where you fail more than you succeed. But every failure is a growth lesson towards success. And sometimes just being up there and watching progress, or being with these kids, flexing my mind in a little bit, or then seeing those miracles that can happen, remind me that, there's other things in life and other random failures. It's like with failures and fundraising someday might turn into success. So baseball, coaching baseball, being involved with my kids with baseball, that is my other happy place. And, yeah, that's if you ever wanted, you and I could talk for 6 hours about baseball, and that is really, that is my secret real dream, was always to be Don Mattingly and play first base for the Yankees. But I found another good second path beyond that.
I get to call a baseball game tonight, and I'm so excited because when I get to put on the headset and just be there and and focus only on what's happening and the balls and strikes and all of that stuff. I don't have to be the owner of the company and any of that stuff anymore.
You
And
can just be yourself.
I just get to do that, and that is definitely my happy place. And I did not put two and two together there until you mentioned that stepping, just focusing on what happens between the white lines. Ryan, I could talk to you forever. I have one last question. What did it mean to you to be one of the 50 under 50?
Oh, I'm very grateful. Meant a lot to me. It's unnecessary, but I'm very grateful. And thanks to whoever nominated me out there. This has just been, again, doing what I do it's my pleasure. It's my way to give back to a community that shaped me in so many wonderful ways. And to be nominated with those other folks on there, there's some tremendous people on there. It's a great honor. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Ryan Saunders, Chorus of Westerly, thank you so much.
Thank you.
One of my favorite people to talk to. Thank you to the Ocean Community Chamber of Commerce. Thank you to Valenti Family of Dealerships and 321 Media. That always feels weird to say.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Ryan. And we will see you guys next time on 50 Under 50. Bye for now.